Welcome to another episode of Getting Real in the Field. This is the show where we talk about all the things that you hate to do, following up, making phone calls, talking to people, updating your CRM, uploading people, your new folks you're talking to. And I'm your host, JB Fluellen, and this is Keck. Hey, sorry, my audio cut out for a second.
I know. It seems like you're lagging right now. It's like you're in this parallel universe.
What? No, I'm just kidding. It's like a really bad kung fu movie where the audio doesn't line up,
That's right.
Or my internet lagging really bad.
Oh man.
So, what are we talking about today, Keck?
Well, hey, we started kicking off last week about our top 10 list of all the how to retain a team. So why don't we continue on that? We hit it to number 5, so we're on to number 6 today if we want to continue on that.
Let's do it.
Okay. So just a recap, last week we talked about the top 5, right? Open communication, continuous development, recognizing your team members, providing flexible compensation, and marketing support. So continuing on that, let's talk a little bit about culture and team culture. JP, you shared with us how you've built your team, how your team had broken apart, but now you're, and you've done that many times, and you have been a master of building great teams. And just share your thought about building culture, man.
Yeah, so with culture, you have to before you even start a team, you kind of have to decide, and going through many iterations of this, it's always best to really brainstorm on what is your ideal, who do you want to surround yourself with? Because if you're building your team, just like you would build a football team, you want to recruit, top talent, things like that. Or if you're brand new, then you want to cultivate, the type of talent that you want, and so it all kind of starts off with the interview process. You want to align yourself with people that you want to have on your team that are going to have a similar, similar mindset around things. Now, it can get a little bit out of hand if you don't align in certain areas, because I know a lot of team leaders that they want to build. I just want to build a Christian team. I want to have agents that are aligned with me, not only just production wise and how much we want to grind and be super successful in the real estate business, but by the same token, we also want to surround ourselves with agents on our team that are aligned with us from a spiritual perspective, because things can get a little out of hand if you're saying, hey, I'm a believer and this is kind of the direction I feel like we need to go, and you got somebody on your team that's doesn't feel that way. Things can get really political and get really the culture can really degrade really fast. And it's really tough to have conversation if you can't align on core values and things like that. So I would say hustle. You want to align with hustle. You want to align with probably, spiritual or at least higher power or some kind of, something in that arena, so that when you're talking about different things in your team meetings, that, everybody is aligned with those values. Yeah. And then also just, creating a culture around, showing up. If you got 1 or 2 agents on your team that are just constantly not showing up, they always say it's always easier to fire quickly than to fire slowly, because you want to hire slow and fire fast.
Yeah.
So that way you maintain a culture, not only in the physical reality, but also in the social media space. So if you've got an agent on your team that is constantly causing drama on social or just airing their dirty laundry on social media, then you want to get rid of them, because you don't want one person to ruin your brand. Because as a team leader, you spend a lot of time creating, designing, and upholding a brand within your community. And then if you got somebody on your team that's out there just screwing it up, then you just want to get rid of them. And really, it's not anything personal. it's just, you're not a good fit. And we've had to do that several times over the years, because I try to. I even had at one point, I had to have all my agents sign a social media commitment form that, to get them to make sure that they understand that we just, as we don't tolerate that.
Mm,
I mean, we're trying to have a professional space. We're trying to build a, it takes more time to build a positive image than it does to create a negative image. You can ruin, I mean, within hours, you can have a negative impact on your
right.
brand.
Yeah, especially when you talk about politics and stuff on social media,
100%.
and it reflects on your team as well too, right? So yeah, this is interesting, especially in real estate, right? Your career in real estate, it really bleeds into your personal life too. So your team has to be aligned to it. So that's a really interesting and a really great point too. And I would say, like, in our original first episode there, we talked about having the core values, or having like a goal of what you want to be. I think this culture, what you're describing, just ties right into it.
Yeah, that, and you have to just make it a requirement that your agents show up for
Yeah,
special events. We're doing quarterly events, and it has a much more impact when you can have unity within your team. And you got to kind of always just, I always kind of correlate it back to a sports team. If you're gonna practice, and Jimmy doesn't always show up, then when it's game time and he only wants to be there for game time, well, you're always going to be just that much not good because Jimmy didn't practice. And
yeah,
so when especially when it counts and Jimmy's not practiced up and he's not, you're trying to shoot a field goal or kick a field goal, or you're trying to, like, you know hit a 3-pointer, and Jimmy hasn't been practicing his 3-pointers, then you're gonna lose the game. I mean, every time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. No,
you know,
I hear you. This sounds like football
so,
season's coming up with those analogies
dude, I
now.
can't. I mean, yeah, my wife doesn't like. She's not a sports person.
Okay, so that's on that thread too. Thinking about the positive culture now, how about career path, career growth as well too? Thoughts
Yeah.
on
So,
that? Do you
I mean,
define that? Does your team care about that?
you know, first of all, let me just go back to this. Like, career path really comes back to culture again. When you're trying to coach, train, and direct your agents to be the best version of themselves, because that's exactly what we want to do, is create the best version of themselves so that they can go out and coach, train, and cultivate their own agents, and then create the best version of their selves. And when you are trying to do these things and they're not willing to accept or try or practice, we're in the business of practicing. We're not ever in the business of perfecting. Even attorneys and lawyers and social workers and all these things, they own practices, right? They don't
Yeah,
own, perfected businesses. And so what we're trying to do is indoctrinate them into, hey, these are the fundamentals of what you need to do to become the best version of yourself. And if you want to achieve these certain goals that you want to get out of your career, then you need to create daily habits and routines in order to get best practices for what works best for you, but also getting the best results based off of that practice.
yeah,
And when they're not willing to do the hard thing to get the result, then there is no career path, right? So really the path is consistency and work ethic. And then at that point, when you've risen to the top, then we have a conversation about a career path, or maybe let's, help you start your own team within our team, things like that. But first, let's, perfect our craft and be the best that we can so that we have something to work with in order to create a career path. Because at the end of the day, like, being a real estate agent is the career, but you have to go down the path, you know. So if you don't want to go down the path, then I'm sorry, there's only so much you can do. It goes back to that same old adage, you can only lead a horse to water so many times before, you know, or the analogy of the guy in the boat. God, help me, rescue me. I'm out here in the middle of the ocean. And then the guy shows up in the guy in the rowboat comes by and he's like, hey, do you need any help? No, 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 they're gonna send someone, or whatever. And then all of a sudden the helicopter comes by and, hey, you need help? No, 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 they're gonna send somebody, and then it's like, dude, I already sent 5 people to come help you out.
Yes.
Like, dude, what else do you want from me? Like, all you gotta do is get out of that boat and get into my boat, you
Right.
know? Or the analogy of like when Peter's trying to fish, he's fishing and he's not getting the results from the fishing, and he's like, just go to the other side, it's gonna be better, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Oh, it can't be better on the other side, and then all of a sudden they go to the other side and there's tons of friggin' fish flying out of everywhere. So, like, dude, just do the thing and you get the result, and over the years we've had so many agents that are like, no, I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna do it my way. Okay, you do it your way, and then when you don't get the results, and I
Come
don't
back.
want to say I told you so, but if you just make phone calls, like, it's just that simple. Like, just pick up your phone, dial a few numbers, do that every day, consistently over time, and you're gonna get results. No, no, no. I'm just gonna sit in my chair and just hopefully that the deals are gonna fall from the sky. You know what I mean? So I mean, honestly, career path is, you're in charge of your career path. If you want me to direct you into doing bigger, better things, do the basic fundamentals, and we'll get there. It's kind of like, what is it? Bruce Lee says, if I could learn 10,000 kicks, or would I rather learn one kick doing it 10,000 times? What's better?
Right.
Learn one kick, do it 10,000 times. You're gonna be really good at that one kick, and I guarantee you, all you're gonna need to do is one kick. That dude's gonna go out, rather than trying to be all flashy and be like, "Oh, look at this guy, he looks like a ninja," and then and he's done. So
Okay. Well, then
sorry, that was my rant about career path.
yeah, seriously, guys. So take heed of what JP is saying. It's like, you know what? Make sure you do what has been given in front of you, do it well first before you talk about careers. But there will be opportunities. I think that what, you know, a lot of agents, when they come into the business, they think, oh, being an entrepreneur, but when they join a team, they do want to know a path, right? For them to know what's next for them, a carrot, so to speak, right? And there will be some of those people. But I think that, for real estate agents, you come into this craft because you want to do well, you want to do it well, stay focused on that. Don't try and like do everything and then you get nothing done, right?
Yeah,
So
and honestly, if you stay the path, you will become the shining star, and then you will naturally become recognized, and it will not go unnoticed, and then that's when opportunities come.
yeah. Okay, so then segue to that part, feedback and growth. Like, how do you handle that? I mean, sometimes everybody's, oh, the star of a real estate agent, right? Or hey, I'm independent, so don't tell me what to do, right? How do you provide feedback to those people and helping them to be constructive and still be able to do so that they can do better, right? And even the stars, how do they get better even on top of that?
Yeah, so feedback, and for me, it's hard to give feedback in the sense of like, other than, I'll pull my agents aside and be like, hey man, I haven't seen you showing up for stuff. Like, what's going on? And it'll be a variety of different things. Um, so there's a couple things. You have to be open to making tough decisions, especially as a leader. You have to be open to making those tough decisions, because sometimes the, feedback, and growth, uh, some a lot of times don't go hand in hand. So if they become polar opposites, especially with your agents, then those are definitely difficult conversations to have. But as far as like, you know, if you start to see agents that are doing well, then sometimes they can get forgotten. So you want to definitely recognize them, give them feedback. Hey, is there anything I can do to help you grow and become a better, again, going back to the better version of yourself? Like, how can we support you in what you're doing so that you can become better? Or, hey, I've noticed, and I've done this before, and this comes back to like adding accountability to your process, which is, holding your agents accountable to their actions. you know it's that can be dangerous though, because if they're consistently not being accountable to your accountability meetings, then there's only value behind it when there's positive and negative to the accountability.
Fair. Yeah.
So
Good point.
so if you have an agent that's just not doing what your expectations are of your team, and they're not being a quote unquote team player, you usually get traded, you know? And so there's that. Or if you were hired for a specific purpose and you're not performing after a certain amount of time, you get traded.
Yeah.
And so you have to be very careful that once you start going down some of these paths, that it's just like a kid, like you can only give them so much leeway before you got to give them a punishment, or those behaviors are just become normal, and then it's really hard to go back. It's kind of like if you're a parent, and your kid screws up and you're like, you're getting a spanking when you get home, and then your kid gets home, you forget, and then hours go by, you remember, and then if you're going to try to punish them for something that happened like 5 hours ago, it's going to be really
You
weird to
forget.
like
Yeah.
punish your kid after they didn't do something. If they didn't do it, have punished them right away. So you just got to make sure that whatever standards you're setting and systems you have in place, that there's a checks and balances with those systems. Otherwise it becomes part of the normal behavior, and then it's I've been here
Fair enough.
6 months. I've been here a year. How come we didn't have this conversation before now? You know, so there's that.
Fair enough. Okay. Now what work-life balance thoughts on, like, I mean, how do you make sure that they don't get burnt out? We want them to work as hard as possible, obviously, so that they can make money, you can make money, right? But balance, right? And how do you,
Yeah.
especially
So
newer folks, like, not getting burnt out as well, too?
yeah. So work-life balance is a myth. That's never going to happen. But what you can have is work-life alignment, where
Ooh,
the way
okay.
you work is in alignment with your environment around you. And usually where the conversation of work life balance, if you will, comes into play is when you have a spouse or a significant other or someone in the mix that is now frustrated with what you're doing and how you're doing it, and that for whatever reason they're not getting enough attention. So the reality of it is that having an agreement that this is the kind of the expectation of the type of career that I'm in, and that when the more I get busy, the more that you have to start thinking about your business as a business, and you got to start deciding, okay, now that I'm getting busier, do I just stay busier and I'm up till 11:30 at night working my butt off every day and getting, tired of the grind? Or if I figure out ways to now leverage my time with maybe a TC or an ISA or an assistant or things like that, where you're not necessarily slowing down, but you're just taking things off your plate. And so now
Yeah.
you're aligning what you're doing. Now you're just pivoting into leveraged positions rather than we're just doing it all yourself, and then people are getting frustrated. So it's really just more of just taking a look at your process and then just tweaking it.
So let me ask you this, with all the audience, you've been in this business for quite a number of years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you found the alignment that you're looking for, to where you balance your family life, your time with, your spouse, um, you know, kids and so forth as well too?
So I have these conversations around my children all the time,
Do you
and they
really?
see me grinding. They see me grinding. And then when they're like, "Oh, you're never here. You're never doing anything," I'm like, "Well, would you rather have nice things or would you rather have me around?" And they're like, "Well, both." It's always, it's not either or, it's both, right? So then when you start getting, where your children are starting to feel like resentful, and they're not, they're starting to distance themselves from you. Then you just have to really realize, like, okay, well, this is a great vehicle, so like example would be, is like I can go buy a 1985, Buick LeSabre if I want to get me from point A to point B, or I can go buy a Lambo, right? So what vehicle do you want to get from point A to point B? Either way, you're going to get there. Just how efficient is it? So when
Yeah,
I look at like, oh, if I'm buying a Lambo, I'm like, okay, well, what's the efficiency process? So 2 years ago, I hired TCs to start doing all of my paperwork for me. So that alleviates a significant amount of my time. I probably get back probably 15 hours a week by hiring TCs. So
really.
yeah, so it's a huge thing. And if you're watching this and you need a referral for a TC, let me know because they work nationwide, so they can work anywhere, and
Okay.
they're licensed. So I know a lot of states require licenses. They are licensed real estate agents. So there's that. And they do also have Arizona emissions insurance, and they also have like corporate finance insurance, and they're American too.
Okay.
So
Okay.
and so that was
Awesome.
a huge leverage piece to get that alignment for me. And then I also have an office assistant as well that helps me with all my running around and inputting listings and all this kind of stuff too. So
So you are getting there, you're getting the help, but it's unavoidable in terms of like, working the weekends, right? Working late nights as well too. And how you prioritize things is what I'm hearing from you is like how you prioritize things when you put things in place. Like you might adjust your lifestyle to kind of fit where that balance is for you.
yep, shared calendars between you and your spouse helps a ton, so they know she knows what's going on in terms of your business and her business. And two is just having frequent conversations, because I hear this story so many times, whereas my wife, my spouse just hates this business because you're always gone, and or we can't have plans. And don't get me wrong, when I first started in this business, dude, I left dinners to go show houses. Probably stupid because I didn't know that you could just say, hey, I'm available at 6 rather than
I gotta go now.
but
Yeah.
every once in a while you'll get a client that's like, I am in town, can you go show me this house, or whatever. That happens every once in a while, but it's been years since I've had that happen to me. Usually I have plenty of notice to plan ahead to do those types of things. Um, but if you have shared calendars, that helps a ton. Having conversations with your spouse and saying, hey, I know you don't understand my business, but this is what it is.
Okay.
And
Oh,
and if you just say, like the Jerry Maguire, conversation where it's just like, if you just, if you just love me for the man or the person that I almost am, then you'll understand, And then all of a sudden, they're like, "Hey, do you want to go on a vacation? You want to go overseas? You want to go on a cruise? You're doing more things, better things. You're in a bigger, better, nicer house to stuff like that." And then they have this aha moment, you know. Now it could go the opposite and say, hey, you've been in real estate for 7 years now and we're not making any money. I think you need to quit and do something else. Like, so, but again, you got to have that alignment. Like if you're, you know, it's when you go get your car, then your car's veering to the left or to the right. You don't go get your car balanced. You get it aligned, so
yeah.
that way it's going straight down the road.
I
So
like that.
just at it like that, and then you'll understand like there's synergy there when there's alignment. So
Yeah. No, I like that. That's great term instead of work-life balance, work-life alignment. I get that. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. The last one, the not the least important, but the most important is building teams, right? It's how do you build that trust and autonomy among your team members, especially when you're trying to grow and scale up because, you know, we both manage teams, right? And I can add to it, but I'm just kind of curious, like, how do you build trust so that, if you're on vacation or you're out of town, the entire team doesn't stop, right? Oh, because JP's out, I don't know what to do. So how do you build that type of autonomy and trust overall?
yeah, so a couple things is you know you're gonna be the leader for a while until you kind of get a natural person that has exerted some leadership skills. And then basically once you do that, you kind of hand them small things. You know, you might go out of town for 1 or 2 days and say, "Hey, can you hold down the fort while I'm gone? Here's what's going on." Maybe just have them watch over your business and see how it goes. And then you can just kind of trust them with bigger and better and more things over time. And then um and then eventually, like, you can work your way up to a spot where you trust them, or maybe you make them a partner on something that you're working on or something like that, to where if it's somebody that you can be around. And that's how you kind of build trust. If you're trying to build, like, grooming someone to be like the next like assistant leader of your team or something like that. um or the other thing you could do is just merge with another team. I've seen that happen before too, where you merge with another team, that team leader becomes the team leader of now the new company, and then you become more of the thought leader and the kind of the idea person. And I've seen that model as well. As far as autonomy, like, there's a really good book called The Five Languages of Appreciation, which is about how do you, like, appreciate different people of your team. And there are just some people that are just like, just leave me alone. Like, when I need you, I will call you. But they're also a big supporter of the brand. They show up to every event, but you never really have to, like, babysit them or have to, like, teach them how to do things. They're just good to go on their own. And those people will emerge too over time. They're just like, leave me alone. I can be productive. I'm good. I don't need the hand holding. I don't need any of that stuff. And so you just
Yeah.
kind of have to really get to know your agents, spend time getting to know their families, maybe invite them over, do things like that to really kind of get to know who they are outside of the workplace, so that when the stuff hits the fan, like, they're a natural, like a phoenix. They just rise up from the ashes, and they're that rock that holds your team together. So
So I will add on to it, like, to build that trust, sometimes you gotta step back and let the team, make their own decisions. But I will tell you, most people, and I come from, a background of managing corporate teams, you know, uh, and establishing, building teams around me, right? And one of the things that I find that a lot of organizations is easy when you're first starting out yourself. And I bring this up as the last topic for the evening, is because it is the hardest thing to do when you're trying to grow a team, right? I think you can build culture, you can set up all the programs. It's a very, I won't say easy, but you can set those programs and define it. But building a process where there's autonomy and decision-making process sometimes can be really challenging, because when you are used to doing your way, boy, everything is in your head, makes a lot of sense. But I have, over the years, I've come to realize what makes sense to me doesn't make sense to the entire team. And so that's why they keep coming back, and they keep coming back and say, "Hey, Keck, what do you do? What should we do in this situation? What should we do in that situation?" It's like, holy smokes, if I'm busy and I'm not there to answer, everything starts falling apart, right? And that's a bad thing. So I try now, with the teams, is define what's a repeatable process that you define. And then, and who's that, like you said, a team lead, so to speak, that will be able to also kind of represent you as a sounding board. But if you empower the team, you need to establish process so that's repeatable as well too. Because as you are scaling, growing the teams, and you hire one more person, boy, it's not tribal knowledge that you can rely on, right? It's got to be, what's the process? Oh, you snap into this, and you can onboard that person faster, and you can scale and be more agile faster as well too, right? So hopefully that
agree.
makes sense there.
100%.
So with that, that wraps it up, man. We've talked
It
a lot
does.
about this topic, right?
I didn't
And
realize we were going to go that deep, but it was definitely worth 2 episodes
yeah,
worth of going deeper.
yeah. I mean,
So
and we've done 3 episodes on first how to recruit, and should you be building a team, and then now how do you retain a team, and spending the time and topic on that. So hopefully, I hope it was worthwhile for you guys. It's been great to kind of brainstorm, and I love hearing from JP, a lot of his insights and experience as well too. So hopefully, if you guys love this episode, please reach out to us. JP, how should they reach out to you?
All right. Well, you can go on any of the socials, any of the, anywhere where you can, if you just go on the Google machine, type in JP Fluellen, you can find me everywhere. You can shoot me a DM. You can just hit me up directly at my direct phone number, 307 772 1184. I know at some point that's going to bite me in the butt, but you know what? It's still out there. Just, yeah, just shoot me a text, type real, and let's just have a conversation. You can definitely learn more about what we're doing over here, where we can help you build wealth, health, legacy, wealth in your business, help grow and scale your teams to be more profitable, more longer lasting, and having more support and benefits to your agents. Whether you're an independent brokerage, franchise, or an individual agent, there are many ways that we can get you paid more than just slinging houses. And you always got to be thinking about retirement in this business. On what
For
are
sure.
my plans after? I don't want to be running around slinging houses when I'm 80 years old. Everybody knows that gal that's still out there doing that,
Yeah,
and I know I don't want to be that person. So yeah, just hit me up. And if you want to learn more ways on how you can maybe retire early from real estate too. So
sure. Okay.
um, yeah. How about you, Keck?
So if you want to talk about how to scale your team, happy to help you with that as well too. And if you're not quite ready and you need help with assistance with following up with your leads or nurturing your leads, reach out to me and I can share with you a little bit about our AI platform as well too. And if you do have teams and you want to help them get leads so that they're not chasing their tails, talk to me as well too. So check me out on fieldnotes.ai, our website, and schedule some time, or feel free to call me directly. My number is 425-740-0260. And one last request as well too, if you do like what we are talking about and you love the topics, hit subscribe and like as well too, and share your comments. Share with us some tips and tricks that you have used to build out your team and retain them as well too. And one last request, drop, give us a donation to help JP get his internet. It's been lagging tonight. He's
Yeah,
out in
that's
Cheyenne. He needs that Starlink system.
dude. I'm telling you, I think it's because my wife hooked up this Bark system to our. I don't know if you guys have heard of Bark, but it's like this thing that helps you monitor like apps and stuff like that for your kids. And so I only got 4 more years before they're all out of the house, and then I don't have to worry about any of that stuff anymore. But until then, uh, thanks for hanging out with us, and yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.